Hi, this is Paul from HireSuper with the Systems Conference. I'm here with Lindsay Liu from Super, and Super is a new sponsor this year to our conference. We're really excited to have them. Lindsay, what exactly does Super do?
Yeah, great question. So at Super, we really think about the intersection of property management team efficiency and 5-star resident experience. And the way that we do that is through an AI-powered platform that does 3 things really well. We centralize all of your communications, so we're actually able to take emails, text messages, phone calls, PMS work orders, and put that into one view at last for you. We automate a bunch of those functions by being able to do things like route to the right team member, assign, and also respond back to your residents. And then we give you the insights to be able to help improve your operations as well.
Is Super like when residents or when people ask questions on your website and then it gives them responses? Is that what Super does? Is that things like that?
You know, we're a little bit different than like a chatbot there, because what we enable people to do is to be able to reach out on the channels that are the most comfortable for them, right? So we think a lot about how to meet your tenants and your owners and your customers where they are versus them having to meet you there, right? So whether that's them having to sign into a portal or to go to your website to be able to chat, they can just text message, they can pick up the phone, they can shoot off an email, and we kick off all of those workflows for them.
How long has Super been around?
We're just about 3 years into doing this. So one of the reasons we are a new sponsor is we are pretty new.
Well, and that's also why I'm like, because like I sold my company 3 years ago, so that would be a good reason why I had not seen you yet, because you've been at some of the newer things, and I was like, oh, because sometimes I talk to companies and they pivoted into our field and they've been around for 20 years. Sometimes it's new. So you guys are with the new generation, all the high technology. Last year our focus was AI. This year our focus is AI and growth. So you're a perfect fit for this conference, because people coming here, they're looking at ways that they can have their business run more efficiently without them.
Absolutely. And I think we definitely are riding the kind of tailwinds right now of the interest that this industry also has in technology. I feel like this is really such an exciting moment where property management teams, who frankly I think have been somewhat skeptical of new technologies, are all so excited about what AI can do for them. And we are at this very moment where what the technology is capable of is just, it's growing so rapidly that I think even the conversation we'll have now, by the time we get all together in January, it's going to just be exponential.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still so many property management companies that have big filing cabinets filled with every document. We bought a company that had a filing cabinet room in California. You know how much rent is? They had an entire room filled with filing cabinets so they keep their files. Like, I'm going like, this is like $500 a month files. Like, I mean, you think about like, for people, you need to think about what your space is. And if, as an investor, I'm an investor, if I walked into a company and they had a filing cabinet room, or they wanted me to sign something with a pen, I would walk out of that company. I would not do business with them. I would not do business with anyone who is not using the top softwares, those types of things. I think people aren't realizing that our customers, and especially our new customers, the 20s and 30 crowd, my son went to go rent a place in Santa Barbara. He goes to UC Santa Barbara, and most of the property managers are complete idiots. Like, it was like really bad. Like, I mean, we're talking like handwritten applications that you had to like drop off at the office. Things where they were trying to like figure things out, like just very old school. So Super is going to help you. If you're in property management and you are that way, come to the conference. I'm not trying to get bad on you. Like, we all are at a stage, but like 10 years ago, I was at a very low stage, and sponsors and technology helped me to just elevate my game, have better property management company, and make a lot more money. I mean, that's what I don't think people understand, is that you guys can help people look better,
Yeah, I mean, we think about this, and it's obviously all we think about, right? But there's so many layers to this, right? Some people ask, like, who are your biggest competitors? I'm like, email and spreadsheets. That's the biggest competitor, right? Is the notebook that somebody is writing things down in. These are such hard behaviors to be able to change. And so one of the things that we've spent an especially outsized amount of time thinking about is, again, what are the workflows and systems that work today? And what are the things that people are never going to eliminate? And I think we've realized you're never going to get rid of email. You're never going to get rid of the phone. So why try to displace these things? The more you do that, the more it actually creates more fragmentation. And I think every property manager feels that pain right now. It's all the customers we talk to is, well, I have all of this stuff and I want to have the PMS be my source of truth. But all of this other stuff is happening in email. People are still calling the office. They still want a text message with me directly. And so all of that chaos that lives outside of the PMS, what do you do with that? And so that's really what we think about is how do we help you centralize and streamline that? I talked to a new customer that I think is going to sign on today. And he was just like, the communication thing is the rate limiting factor for my organization. If I cannot get that under control, we will not be able to scale effectively. It's a low margin business. I need to be able to simplify every single component of it. And if we're doing things like losing leads that we're paying a lot of money for because we just couldn't respond to them in time, right? Or if we are losing customers that we fought a lot for because they're not happy with the level of customer service that they're getting, we need to kind of figure out all of those different facets of our business. And technology is such a great way to be able to help keep accountability there.
10 years ago, we had this technology where we would all pay for leads. And it was like the bat phone. Like they would sell it to 7 companies at the same time. And you would get a text, ping, and then you'd be like, got dialing. Because you got that phone call off. I didn't care if you're in a movie, where you're at. You're like, I just paid $25 for that lead. The movie cost me $10. I'm running out of the movie, being the first person, missing 20 minutes of the movie. We don't have to do that anymore. We have technology. We have ways of doing things that are so much right. But that was the beginning. I think it was 8 p.m. No, it wasn't 8 p.m. I forget the name of the company, but I remember getting leads and running out and trying to be.
You remember the frenzy?
I remember the frenzy, and I remember the first thing they would ask is, "How much do you cost?" And I learned. Yeah, I didn't want to be that guy anymore. I didn't want to be the guy who's running after those leads that only care about how much you cost. I want to get those leads that are like, oh my gosh, I saw you have the best customer service, you have the best reviews, you have the best this. I want to work with you. And I want to be the one who says, yeah, I don't know if we're going to take you because of this, and this. And they're like, but I want to be with you. And that's all by customer service. It's turning it around so that people want to come to you because you are the best in the business in your area. You have the most efficient, and that's what you guys, it sounds like, help do. You guys don't help with email, right? People are still going to have the same email. You don't help streamline email at all, do you?
Oh, we do. Yeah, actually, it's one of the core channels that, inboxes are just out of control these days, right? And I think with email, what happens is it's magnified. Because in order to even give other people in your team visibility, you have to now CC, forward, right? So the volume of emails just explodes and no one can stay on top of it. So with our system, not only is every email able to be logged, we can also make sure that it gets routed and notified to the right people on the team. So, a lot of tenants will do this where the last person they talked to was the accounting person, and now they have a problem with their toilet and they're going to the accounting person. That's the last person they spoke to, right? And that accounting person is like, I'm off. I don't deal with emergencies at night. I'm not going to do anything with that email until the next morning. And so with our system, we would actually be able to log that email and recognize that it was an issue with a plumbing emergency. And maybe it's an emergency and we escalate it to the right people, or at minimum, we would make sure it gets routed to the maintenance team to be able to take care of. So we can kick off a whole bunch of automations there to make sure that those are being dealt with. And then the repetitive types of requests, like the how much does this cost, we can automatically reply with kind of a response that you have set in motion. So you could say, hey, here's how you can view all of our listings and all of the details about how to reply. Have that just be sent to every lead right away. That's
going to be exciting. I really like the sponsors that I haven't seen or heard in the past. I really like to see what you guys do because it really shows me where property management game's going. Like I said, 3 years out of the business, and it just, the playing field just keeps getting harder. It keeps getting better. It keeps getting easier for us, but harder in the sense that the expectations of owners and tenants is just going to keep going up. Because if you don't have good customer service, your competitor is going to.
Yeah, I hear that so much from our customers as well. I think the magic number I keep hearing from our customers is if a tenant or an owner doesn't hear back from you in an hour, they just start escalating, right? So that thing that started as a work order that you just haven't gotten to yet, and it's probably not the priority for today, is now an email, is also a voicemail at your office, is now a text message on somebody else's phone, and it just explodes from there. And so being able to help manage that volume and being able to set those expectations correctly, right? And to, again, meet those customers where they are with their expectations is something that I think is just going to be expected of the industry. You can't make people wait anymore. They will not tolerate it.
Yeah, and when I remember 8 years ago, we were cutting edge because we would get a response to them. Didn't get someone out the same day always, but we would get a response within the same day. So sometimes they would get it at 8 a.m. By 1 p.m. They would get like, hey, we've notified this is the technician. They're going to be calling you. Now, like I said, even while I was in it, I watched it. You're right. It's like an hour. The sooner you get a response, so the sooner they can schedule. Like even if it's like, hey, the plumber's coming out tomorrow at 3 p.m. Just that they know he's coming out tomorrow at 3 p.m., they'll stop bothering you. Like it's just like it's that technology thing. It's we have become like, you know, when I order on Amazon and it's like it's gonna take 3 days to get here. I'm like, 3 days? Really? Like 8 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, 3 days? How did you get it so quickly? Now I'm like, dude, you got to be yesterday the same. Now, so that's Amazon same day. Like, it's just amazing what our expectations are. And if Amazon and other companies don't do what it is, then Walmart's now doing same day delivery. So every other company, even in other fields, it's like if you don't like learn from our vendors and learn what they're going to do, then you're going to get passed up. And if you're one of those companies in Santa Barbara that still doesn't paper and pen and you have your clientele, someone's going to go up there and they're going to open something that's more efficient, that's going to do better for the owners, and you're going to start having churn. I mean, churn will happen. Like it might take a while because some people have that relationship and stuff, but eventually when they find out they're making less money or their customers aren't happy, then you're going to start having churn.
Yeah, we think a lot about this. There's a visual, but essentially this vicious flywheel of unresponsiveness is what we call it, right? And it starts with when your team is really overwhelmed and they're not responding quickly and things are slipping through the cracks and things aren't getting done on time, right? You've got unhappy tenants, you've got unhappy owners, you get bad reviews, you now start losing customers, and that makes everyone just even more overwhelmed, right? So what we've done is we've isolated in that kind of vicious cycle. Can you break that cycle? Help your team be more focused, help them respond faster, make sure those tasks are not getting missed. If you break that, everything else will follow, right? It can unlock and actually a flywheel effect that's positive, where now your tenants are really happy, they're referring their friends to you, they're renewing their leases, your owners are super stoked about working with you, you're getting those 5-star reviews, and growth is really easy to unlock. So those are, I think, you know, when I think about what's happening in this space, frankly, the competitors for customer experience are not other property management companies. They are the Amazons, the TaskRabbits, the Ubers out there that are setting the bar so high for what a good customer experience is. And, you know, your tenants don't just live in isolation. They are experiencing all of these other things happening around them in the world. And when it then comes to their home, the thing that is probably the most important thing, the thing that they probably spend the most money every single year on, and that doesn't meet those same level of expectations, things start to, again, they'll rapidly escalate from there. And the ability to meet people on those expectations gets harder and harder as they rise.
That is awesome. I have so many like questions. I really want to learn what you guys do, but in like, what would be, if I was a new customer, what would be the first thing that you kind of be either taking off my plate or making more efficient? What is it? Because I am a new person. So what is it that your first step that you guys as a company do?
Our first step is to really think about and work with our customers on identifying the like top workflows that take time from their team members. So what are the really repetitive things that your team is doing that's it's like eating hours of their week, right? how do we eliminate those things? And so the first thing that we'll work with our customers on in onboarding is just connecting all of their systems. So getting those emails piped in, transitioning, kind of getting the phone and the text message system set up so that we can get all of those in one place. And I think that alone is a time savings, right? Where today you have team members that are switching between, they're switching between Teams chat, Ring Central, email inboxes, and the PMS just to be able to see what's going on and to get a centralized paper trail. So that's number one, right? We'll take that kind of bouncing between multiple different systems to be able to see what's going on in one place. The second thing that we can really take off of the plate is a lot of the administrative type work. So the stuff that you might actually just hire a dedicated person to do, which is like looking at your shared inbox and saying, hey, that inquiry is for the accounting department. That inquiry is for this PM over here. That inquiry needs to go to the maintenance director. We can automate that because our AI is able to parse all of those communications. So once they're all connected, we can actually parse the communications and be able to say, that looks like an accounting related inquiry. Let's make sure that gets in front of the accounting person. That looks like a maintenance related inquiry. Let's not just get that in front of maintenance. Let's mark it as a work order, right? And let's categorize the type of maintenance inquiry it is.
Yeah, I was one of those, as an employee, when I got bought out, I became an employee. And they're like, hey, within Teams, we're going to send you all your text through Slack. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's like a team of like 4 of us. Why can't we just do it through like a group check text on Apple on my phone and stuff? But it was going through Slack. And I was one of those people like, I had Slack on my computer, but I didn't have it on my phone. And so like, they'd send me a text. They'd be like, oh, and they'd be like, oh, I didn't go to my computer yet today. And then finally someone's like, dude, just download the Slack app. And I'm like, okay. So then I had like the Slack text coming through and this coming through. And I'm just like, there's just so much. I'm like, why? Like, sometimes you need someone just to tell you to be more efficient. Like, sometimes you try, because when we had Confluence or something else, like when you would write what you were going to go to, then everyone could go on a Confluence to write up everything. And then we also had Google Drive, but we also had, we had like 25 different ways of communicating together. And, a lot of times we have to say, what is the most efficient? And can we have our communications so they all come to one channel or they all come to somewhere, and so that everyone knows, oh, my centralized thing, I have to do this. So I really think that's also, we can get to the point where we don't do things efficiently because we get confused on what we're supposed to be on. And I could see that in like a lot of our property management softwares, like at Folio, up until 2-3 years ago, they were like an ironclad locked door, nothing could communicate, nothing could talk to them. And then RentBuy came into the picture and said, hey, guess what? We're going to open the door up and software can talk to software. Well, guess what? Now Folio has stack components that do talk to each other so that people can do that because RentBuy is doing that. So I do think that like what you're saying is you'll help people get more efficient, learn what they're doing, and do it so that they're not doing 12 different things in 12 different windows and everyone talking different. Correct? Is that the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people talk about the the switching between windows problem, right? And the reality is, I think that not one piece of software can do everything perfectly. I know that that's like the holy grail unicorn that a lot of PMs talk about. I'll tell you the reality in most other businesses, and I've been in a number of other industries as well, is you're always going to have multiple pieces of software to meet different needs. But if there is something that can help centralize the important stuff, right? And I think the PMSs are really good at that for the accounting side of things, but there really hasn't been anything that's focused on that for communication, which is, to be honest, I think the other bread and butter of this industry, right? It's like once you've kind of got the books in a good place, what's the next thing? You're communicating with all these different parties, whether that's coordinating a vendor and a tenant, or telling an owner about something, or talking to a prospect, right? It's all communication, and no one's really cracked that nut yet. So that's really the white space that we see ourselves fitting into, is how do we solve that multiple windows problem for communication?
That's really awesome. I know people are really interested in that. I know that was, like I said, one of the big problems. Like way back in the day, it was us going from Dropbox to Google Drive. And then it was a difficult switch because we had everything in Dropbox. And if you know, like when you have like tons of files in Dropbox and you try them in a Google Drive, it's like a 2 to 3 week downloading process of like everything going in there. But once we got to Google Drive, and this is early stuff, but then our email, our things were synced, and that the reason we went to Google Drive was to make things easier, so that we were, meeting on Google Meet, we were, using Google Drive, we were using Google Sheets and not Word, and not, and using a Google email and stuff like that. So it's, you can get things simpler. Like, I do understand that you need to have more and more software, but I think that what your guys are saying is that you're going to make things simpler for people, but more high tech.
Yeah. And I think simplicity is one of those things that's so misleading, because you talk about that in user experience design a lot, which is like the simplest thing is actually the hardest thing to do. To make it feel really simple is so complicated behind the scenes. And so that's the trick here, right? I think a lot of the systems that have been designed, and frankly, that have been out there for 20, 30 years, the way that you could build something back then, the way that you experience it is like a direct correlation with the way that it was built. Right. And today we have a lot more flexibility with that, right? We can actually think about what's the ideal way that somebody should interact with this. And the way that the systems are designed can be more flexible to that. But also, we're able to think about that end user experience in a really different way. I know that's actually something my co-founder is going to have the pleasure of presenting at the conference. She's going to be doing a workshop on creating a 5-star customer journey, because she comes from the big tech companies, has done this for products that were used by people globally all over the world. And so that idea of like, how do you create an experience that's so simple and so gettable for any type of user, right? Whether that's an elderly tenant that you might have, all the way to a Gen Z, your son that's signing a lease and kind of saying, hey, what is this? That's crazy. How do you make it work for the wide span of types of users that we have in this industry?
So Lindsay just made a really good point about one of the rooms we added. This is the first year this room is, because my favorite talk in my 10 years of going to conferences was by the MGM CFO or one of those people, and he was talking about hotel fees. And this was back when hotel fees didn't exist. And he was talking about why they were adding them and the economics of them. And it really made me understand the business. I still don't like the hotel fees, no one does, but I understand why they did it, what was going on, and it really helped me business-wise. So we are having a room dedicated to companies that are going to have that. So you have lots of choices, but one of the choices will be companies, and they won't be selling anything in this room. They will be talking about the inner structure of their company and what they're doing. So your topic is you're going to be talking about the customer journey, the customer experience, how you do it internally as a company. So not trying to sell you Super on this talk, but this is how we keep customers. This is how we retain customers. These are those types of things. And then you could take what Super does, which is going to be different than how you would do it with your own property management company, but learn what they're doing and be able to repeat these things. So that is going to be a really cool room. I think Second Nature is doing one on the whole way that they get the Second Nature vibe and stuff like that. So these are going to be companies doing stuff on how they do it. So I'm really excited for that room. That's a new thing. And then we also have the Genius Bar this year, where people will be able, on the app, which we have an app this year, we'll be able to lock in 30-minute appointments with people that are in the technology field that are there, and you will be able to get one-on-one tutoring. We all have 12 tables. So companies like Super, they will block off time in the Genius Bar, and you want to talk to Lindsay and hear all the amazing things she can do, block off some time. She'll probably be happy to sit down with you and work with you and help you and teach you what she knows. Correct?
Yes. Happy to teach people. Thank you for calling me a genius.
Hey, you guys in the technology, I gave half the company to Wolfgang because he deals with the technology. Like that app, if it doesn't work, it's not on me. My job is doing stuff like this, and I even have someone doing the technology in the background there. I am not the technology guy. I am the vision weird guy. So I'm the weird guy.
Delegation is good.
What?
As a delegation is good. Clear swim lanes.
It is. So, well, thank you so much, Lindsay. Have a wonderful week. And everybody, I want to see you at the Systems Conference.